Welcome to the Honest Health Podcast with your host, Jeffrey Burke. Honest Health brings you the brightest minds in the natural products industry, as well as athletes and entertainers. Jeff will keep you entertained and informed while educating on how to be successful on your healthy journeys. Now, here's your host, Jeffrey Burke.
Hello and welcome back to the Honest Health Podcast. Jeffrey Burke here. I'm so glad you're here. I am so excited today. Lori Graham is going to be with us, blessing us today with all of her knowledge and all of her information. Another industry icon, someone that's been around as long as I have. Another one that started when they were 1 year old into the field, and we just kind of have stayed forever. And one thing you will notice about her is she is not only a knowledgeable individual, she is someone who walks the walk and talks the talk. And I think that that's very rare in any industry today, and sometimes even rare in our industry. But when you can find someone that brings so much knowledge to the plate and to the table, you're going to want to sit back and listen. So we're going to talk about a lot of things today, but I want you to sit back and enjoy because I know you're going to love this. Hey, Lori, how are you?
I am great, and this is such a privilege.
Oh, I'm so glad to have you here. I have followed you for a long, long time, and it's so funny because I was actually reaching out to you last week when you reached out to me, and I'm like, oh, this is perfect. We need to do this. So welcome to the podcast.
Thank you. It's exciting.
You've done a lot over the years, and I mean a lot, and you've worked on so many different levels of our industry, and you've done them all beautifully, and you've seen the changes in the industry as I have. If you had to mention right now the present state of our industry, where would you say we are as a natural industry?
I think we're tremendously well poised because I think the pandemic kind of woke people up to taking charge of their health in a different kind of way. I really do. I think there are more people out there. The other thing, though, I would say is there's a lot of competition because the whole coaching field, which is credentialed, but people can still call themselves coaches and not be credentialed. So, and not take courses. People coach all different types of topics for well-being, but that there's some conflicting information. And you look at how technology has advanced in the last maybe 10 years. And my favorite thing to do, I don't turn on the radio anymore when I get in the car somewhere. I put on a podcast. So who are you getting your information from? And that conflicting information makes the consumer more afraid or confused. But the reality is people are listening.
I think I agree with that. And I agree also about the pandemic. I think it did open some eyes, even though it brought a lot of confusion and a lot of fear along with it. But, as fast as we closed up the world within like a 24-hour period, I think that I don't think we would ever allow it to happen again. And hopefully, I think that people did walk away with some positive information that they could use moving forward. I see a lot of changes out there today, and I think one avenue, obviously, getting healthy, being healthy, staying healthy is a process. And I know you and I were speaking just before we started the show here about how this certain age bracket that we hit, it's like, I don't know, you just wake up one day and it's just like you're totally naked in the middle of a mall. It seems like the whole world changes like at a snap of your fingers. And even if everything seems to be going really well, that awareness where everything just starts changing. And I mean, I'm there. I mean, I get it. I see it. And as much as I try to refuse that it's happening, I look around and I'm like, dude, you're in that bracket. These things are going to happen. How we respond to these changes is where the difference is.
I can't tell you how poignant that awareness is. That for different people, you could start feeling that at 50, or you could start feeling that at 70. And so because you and I are the kind of people that took the knowledge that came with our education we're probably better able to do the things we're passionate, excuse me, that we're passionate about. We're better able to do those things. But there is a decline that happens. And, it is said, or it's in the research, people refer to it as being like at 70. And, it's like trying to catch a falling knife.
It's so true.
and like, so, and this is my position really, God, and I'm going to say this in a way that's going to make you laugh, in her inherent wisdom, gave us this body that can heal a cut, can reverse disease, that is our vessel for our purpose in life. And we have to nourish it. And we can't depend on traditional medicine to nourish it. Traditional medicine is great if the God forbid happens. You break a leg, you're not in the Aborigines. I don't remember the name of that book, but they healed this guy's leg, and he was an Aborigine. But here's the thing. We're not there. We're in a first world country, and we have excellent surgeons, and use medicine for the God forbid. But take care of yourself. Because, and I learned this, as I'm sure you did in your training. I was an OT for 35 years. I would see patients on whatever combination of cardiovascular meds they were on. And then there were the comorbidities, or rather, I should say, the side effects of those meds, and then pile upon that the comorbidities like the kidney disease and the vision problems and the peripheral artery disease and everything that goes along with whatever happened as they were aging. And medicine became this, like, I realized in my teens, you may die if you take a certain drug. I'm like, why would you take that drug? So we set people up in our country that doctors know everything. And we give our power to the doctor instead of taking power here and taking ownership here for the health that we have. We may be born with a certain genetic imprint, but the truth is our diet and our lifestyle turns those genes off or on. And so that's my rant.
There's so much truth there. And, I have a friend of mine, he said, you can't just, every time you feel unbalanced or wrong, that you just walk into a doctor's office and expect them to fix you and not do any work on your own or any maintenance along the way, because, you're going to end up in a very unhealthy situation, because it is our body and it's our job to service this body and give it the best care we can. Now, obviously, when we start out, we're young and we're foolish and we do all the stupid stuff that we all do because we're young and foolish. Then you get to the point where you wake up and you're like, I need to start doing something better. And if you do those better things, you'll reap the ramifications of those changes. But if you don't, and you keep trying to live like we were young and stupid and did all the crazy things we shouldn't be doing when we're 50 and 60, you're going to pay the price as well. So it does come down to an awareness, and it also comes down to a point where taking responsibility is something that we owe ourselves. And we should want it. We should want to do it.
We should want to do it. You're right. And the rules change every decade of life. I work more with women than with men, but I think the same thing is true for men. At 40, women, because of estrogen, they start getting more weight distribution problems. Okay. At 50, maybe their bones are starting to thin because estrogen is even lower. And, men, even with testosterone, changes or just aging can have bone problems. So like every decade, like it's like you have to always be mindful of your weight. You have to always be mindful of the integrity of your musculature. You have to always be concerned about those things.
Well, let me ask you a question. Your resume is very full, and you've done so many things over the years, and all of them with passion and knowledge and a huge heart. What's up today? I mean, where are you now? I mean, where's your focus? What you doing?
So, I really feel this pull to help people age powerfully
Love it.
and to stay functional, whatever that looks like, whether that's running after your grandchildren, whether that's picking them up, whatever it is, picking your suitcase and putting it into the overhead. I remember going to a functional medicine conference in my late 50s, and some gentleman picked up, I could do that.
Funny.
But you get what I'm saying.
I do.
So, but one of the problems that happens for men and women as we kind of pass into our 60s is a problem with our hemoglobin A1C.
Mm-hmm.
And we can track that back to 40. We can, because we're probably a little messy with our diet and lifestyle, maybe still drinking a little too much alcohol, maybe eating processed food with the kids. But where it starts to become apparent and where the doctor starts to say something to the uneducated person is usually around 50.
Yeah.
Right?
Yep.
And then you hit 60 and it's like, maybe you need to take a med if you don't change your. So what can we do for our hemoglobin A1C? What can we do for the fact that blood sugar can go up? And I really believe, because my license is as an occupational therapist, so I stay in my lane, in the diet and lifestyle lane, but I'm very aware of how the physiology of what happens when our blood sugar goes up. When it goes up about 160, you're literally scraping the inner lining of your blood vessels.
Yeah.
And that's scary, because
Very.
a heart attack can take you down like that. And, you also get the fatigue, and you mentioned the blurry vision, and maybe some limited sensation or limitation in sensation distally, like in your fingers and your feet. But like, honestly, wake up then. But the truth is, you are destroying the inner lining of your blood vessels, and then you get soft plaque, and then you get hard plaque, and then you have, less blood flow in your heart. How else? That should scare a 40-year-old.
You would think so.
Right. And so when I say, like, I have a license as an OT, I'm really grateful for that. I didn't want to fix broken problems, which is why I went into functional medicine, because prevention is a better place to be. But truth be known, the knowledge that I received in my college education that I could build upon with my functional medicine training and the research I read now, I feel like I need to educate people, because if we are aware of what can happen to us, sometimes that's the biggest call to action.
I think I agree 100%.
Yeah.
Do you find that this change in our body happening to us in our 50s and 60s, do we see more of it with men or more with women, or is it equally distributed?
I think it's pretty equally distributed. Men, husbands die usually before their wives, but not necessarily, right? I don't, but I think, I just think like my observation is it's pretty equal. I don't think it's like 20%, 80%.
I see that when I work with women, they're they comply with the changes that are necessary to happen much better than men. I don't know whether it's a stubborn factor. I don't know whether it's an ego thing. I don't know, because I'm a guy. I get it, But I find that when you think about health food stores and stuff, there's more women doing the shopping, more women doing the nutrition, the more women buying the supplements, the more women setting them up for their husbands who wouldn't do it on their own.
Right.
So I think that there's a lot more adaptability and changes that happen to them, where I find that women are they adapt a lot better than we do. And I don't know whether that's a hormonal thing or stupidity sometimes on our part.
Right. Well, I mean, that's not for me to say. What I think is, men are like he-men, are more meat centered. Women tend to eat more chicken, and rarely do you find a guy who's maybe eating fish occasionally, but a lot of vegetables, like my wonderful husband still has bacon. And I'm like, how can you do that? Do you know what that does to your blood vessels? But, and that's a delicate place in a relationship to tread. Except that I'm your partner and I got to take care of you if something happens,
So if you were to if you were to put a title or a category on what you are doing now to keep yourself busy these days, what would you say?
Reversing diabetes. Because that is honestly probably 90% of all diabetes, depending on like how brittle the diabetes is, but about 90% is reversible, completely reversible through diet and lifestyle. And it's the one metric that, and I keep my ear pretty close to the ground, that the more integrative and functional doctors are really speaking about blood sugar and inflammation, and kind of like maybe cholesterol isn't the big problem, maybe ApoB is more of a problem, but it's many different factors all playing together. But blood sugar is completely modifiable through diet and lifestyle. And so I think the big challenge in our world is doctors are not educating their patients. So through the insurance model, it's really hard to get people to change. Like you have to have, I don't know what your hemoglobin A1C needs to be to get a CGM, a continuous glucose monitor, for those who might not know. I don't have that information, but I'm going to guess it's got to be about 6.2, 6.3, 6.4, like somewhere. Maybe it has to be type 2 diabetes. And like, why aren't we educating people to like, why isn't this happening at the doctor's office under insurance? So, because my husband, who's more like you in terms of like what you say is like, what is it with men kind of thing? He wore a CGM and, now he's having cottage cheese before his oatmeal and he's putting nuts in his oatmeal. I used to tell him to put his nuts in his oatmeal. I'm not putting nuts in my oatmeal. But that CGM is telling you what you're putting in your mouth or how you're exercising or your stress is telling you something. And if you ignore it, then you're just, like not making a good choice,
It's
but
funny.
most people will take action.
It's funny you say this because I was actually having a conversation with a couple couples recently, and they've been together. They're both in their 60s. They've been married for like 45 years each, and the women are the healthier of the two couples on both sides. And we were having this dinner, and I started talking to making some suggestions, and both of the guys at the same time said, "Oh my God, that sounds like a really great idea." And I watched their wives just kind of like look at them like this, and I said, "What's up?" And they're like, and they looked at each other, and they're like, "We have basically been telling you the same thing for 10 years. And you're going to sit here and no offense, Jeffrey," they said, "but you're going to mention it and they're going to be like it's a brand new epiphany on their
Right.
side." So there is a lot of that going on out there too, because, the information is there, but the wonderful thing about information is it can be life changing, but only if you listen to the message and you apply the values of that message, or you're ready to receive the message. Well, at that moment in time, they were both ready to receive it, whether it was just for me or whatever. But it was so funny to watch both of their wives look at them like, really?
Duh.
So I think there's a little bit of that going on out there as well. You know, I see a lot more of my friends that have become diabetic, and the pattern is there. And I see from the outside in. I mean, I see the inactivity, I see the terrible diet, I see the drinking too much, I see the smoking, I see the inactivity, I see the unbalancing and the unmanagement of their stress. I know they're not sleeping. I know they're burning the candle. I mean, there are prices to pay, tolls to pay if you keep heading down roads that are leading you to these things. And even though you may wake up one day and say, "How did I get here?" You know how you got there. I mean, we know we don't want to accept it, but I'm hoping that, to your point from the very beginning about the awareness that happened maybe after the pandemic, I'm seeing that some of that has been mentally preparing people to make changes, and they're going along a little bit more willingly now.
Right, 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 right. And y- I had a conversation with somebody the other day, and he heard me talk about GLP-1s. Okay, but I'm talking third generation, so GLP, GIP. There's some good stuff that we can use as aging people to take the curve or the edge. I want to say it that way, to take the edge and some of the challenge off of aging that's going to happen, even if we're doing everything right.
Hmm. Hmm. Hmm.
Okay. And the guy said, two couples together, and the guy said, "I want to go on one. I want to lose 20 pounds." And his wife said, "What? You want to lose 20 pounds? Why don't you just get rid of the junk food in the cabinets?"
How did that go over?
Well, my husband and I just watched, but he was in the way of my being able to see the other husband because he was between us. So I didn't see how he was reacting to her. But we stopped the conversation. I was just a little dense on picking up the social cues because I didn't see him.
Got it. Got it.
But, honestly, I used to think when I went to Catholic Health, when I was working there to build the functional medicine program, they took us around to meet doctors. And there was one doctor who said, "You want to do some weight loss here, like with the employees? We give them, I think Wegovy was big at the time and Ozempic was big at the time." And he's like, "Why?" And I wasn't open to that. Now, I'm not as open to those drugs, but tirzepatide, like I watched my husband lower his hemoglobin A1C from 5.7 to 5.3 in 3 months. And he also dropped 15 pounds, but he also lost muscle because he didn't listen to me and get on my body composition scale. And I was saying, "I don't care what's happening to you. You need to drink a protein shake on top of all the protein that you're eating while you're on." And he didn't. He didn't heed. He just didn't heed. And, did that have an impact with some of the bone loss? not in 3 months, but he's off the tirzepatide. But I do think if you're microdosing, if that's the route that you choose, they're also, it can be good. Like it can be really helpful. It lowers inflammation. These drugs were developed to lower inflammation. And truth be known, unless you want to eat a ton of vegetables all the time, which I mean, when I'm 80, maybe I won't digest them as well. I don't know. I used to see old people eating cereal all the time. I don't know. Or maybe you need to cook them more,
There may be till they're squishy.
But my point is inflammation and blood sugar are things that we can have an effect on with our diet, with our lifestyle. Exercise. Like if you think about what does aging, what makes aging a nicer place to be is your cognition and your body being able to move.
Yeah, that's true.
Right.
Someone said, well, I was just going to say, someone said to me the other day, they said, I think that these GLPs, these semaglutides and things are just a quick way for someone to get some results. And I went, maybe. But if they do absolutely nothing, are they better for doing nothing and not, quote unquote, giving in to something to give them some success? Or would it be better for them if they have to use something like this to get the results, to get them healthier? Should they not use it? You can say that they're lazy. You could say that they don't want to change their diet. And all of those things can be true.
And
but
you should know the risk reward.
Yep. Yep.
There is a risk.
Yep.
Right? So I will share with you, because I am not somebody that needs to lose weight. I still have like no fat. I'm not grandma. I am a grandma, but I don't look like a grandma.
No, you are trim. You look fantastic.
So my husband got peptide from the integrative doctor, and the doctor says to me, because his wife saw me swimming in the pool one day, and when I got out, she said, "What's your name? You swim beautifully." And I told her what I do, and she was my age, and I said, I am on a mission to help people age well. And she says to me, my husband's an integrative doctor. Do you know him? No. So we had lunch, and then I took my husband to him. So he's just like dispensing tirzepatide. At any rate, he says to me, why don't you try it? Just to see what it makes you feel like. So I took my 0.25 many weeks after watching my husband, whose appetite just disappeared.
Yeah.
And I'm a disciplined person, and I operate off of, I know that that's not good for me. Period. End of sentence. If it doesn't have biological, physiological, good information to give to my body, then I'm not eating it. But food noise, I didn't know what food noise was or wasn't. Oh my goodness. No food noise.
Yeah.
Do you know what no food noise can mean to somebody? That is, like, I get it now. I do get it. And if somebody has tried several times to lose weight and regains, I certainly think tirzepatide is better than a sleeve.
I do too.
Right? But there has to be, and I joined a company that has doctors at the helm, so I can send people to that company to get, GLP-1s, also to get all the other peptides that are good for longevity. So that being said, I protect my license, but I just had my first patient order it. And I said to her, you've lost weight with me before, so I will not let you do this unless you are seeing me. And she's with a trainer, and she's going to do protein shakes, and I'm having her weigh in and do the body composition, and we're going to make sure she doesn't lose muscle.
I love it.
And you have to, and she's younger. She's like 45-ish. So to make this kind of change will ward off that diabetes that she might have at 50 if she didn't make a change.
I think that the category of the semaglutide, well, the category in gen GLP-1s, I think that it has been, I think it's timely. I think it makes really good sense. I think that the pros outweigh the cons. And I think that no matter why you're using it, whether you have not been able to do things on your own or you just need that extra layer, and you hit it on the head, that food noise thing is amazing that it can shut that down. Because how many of us today are in very high stressful situations when our stress is overloading? Because I think our stress, it's like a locomotive engine. When our stresses are higher, it shovels more wood into the fire, and the fire is actually the food noise, which actually makes us hungry. And we're eating when we're hungry, and we're eating when we're not hungry because we're trying to satisfy the food noise. And it all comes back to that stress that we're not managing correctly. So I think in that avenue, I think that they have their place. I really do.
They do. But I think that, women, and I see women more at fault for this. They make it a little too thin.
Yeah.
But they love it. And, when we're bracing for older life, we need to have a little extra padding.
Yep.
And by the way, for any women listening, I have built 5 pounds of muscle from between like 66 and 69. Just because I've changed up, what I do for exercise a little bit. Okay. But that being said, like that is just so important. Like I may not have I don't have a high body fat, but if I laid in a hospital bed, I have enough muscle to protect me.
True.
But I think about that, you know what I mean? Like you lose muscle. Anyway, where was I going with this? I thought of the same thing as you about, like as you get older, you want to protect yourself. But the beauty of these drugs is it can help somebody who can't just shut off the food noise by themselves. And that I wanted to say something about something you said before, stress. Me, okay, I eat a whole food, plant forward kind of diet. I eat my salmon, my black cod, I have my herring from the jar from Whole Foods. My hemoglobin A1C went to 5.7. And I'm like, ooh. So I wore a CGM. And honestly, my blood sugar hangs out like fasting when I go for a blood test, not the CGM, at 85, 86, which is reasonable.
Lovely.
So I'm glycating. Why? So when I'm wearing the CGM, what I see is my constant do mode, this low level of stress. When I take that down, if I can integrate some deep breathing during the day, my blood sugar comes down. And so no matter where people are in terms of the continuum of why their blood sugar and hemoglobin A1C are on the rise, I can help them. But having information, so because I couldn't change my diet anymore.
It's already so beautifully clean. It can't get any cleaner.
Could I use a probiotic? Like I love Pendulum products because they have Akkermansia is the active ingredient, and it does have a lot of research behind it. So I'm waiting for those results to come in. But from a lifestyle perspective, I have been doing for 69 years, like doing until COVID. COVID made me stop a little bit. But honestly, like that's an easier thing to fix, but that was driving it for me.
And
So
that's someone who only has the smallest amount of the stress adjustment. And today, usually around us are the people with the massive amount of stress, whether it's environmental or things they can't control, whether it's self-induced stress, whether it's creating scenarios in their own brain, or whether it's hands down stress. Doesn't matter how or where. I mean, there's people that are off the charts, and I see younger people today falling so fast and succumbing to their stress levels,
right.
but they're not doing anything. Some people have to have a heart attack to start walking, and they have to start having a stroke or find out there's something going on for them to say, maybe I should eat a little better. And I'm like, wow. But that's human nature. I don't judge it. I just hope that people would start joining on the train a little bit faster. But people are going to do what people are going to do. What we get to do is educate and give them tools and hopefully light up the light bulb above their head. But I love what you're doing. I love your focus. You've been amazing in this industry, and you've done so much. And like I said, I'm a fan, and I think that you're quite amazing at what you're doing. How do people get in touch with you?
The best thing for them to do is to reach out to me at my email. It's Lori, Lori, B like in boy, Graham like graham cracker @gmail.com. I'm in the middle of moving my website, so it won't be there at the end of March, into another platform. But then it's going to be nutrifyyourlife.net. So that's NUTRIFY, Nutrify, OUR, like Nutrify Our Life.net. And that'll be in the next couple of weeks. But email me for now. That's the best thing to do.
What about your YouTube channel?
I think it's just Lori Graham. And there's if you go Lori Graham, but there's a realtor with my name.
Well, you help them with health, you sell them a house. That's perfect. No, I love that. So I have two questions I want to ask you, and I do this to all my guests. So the first question is a thought that you want to leave everybody with today.
You really are at the helm of your health. I mean, we are the CEOs of our health. Like, rise to the challenge.
I love that. I'll be stealing that. And the second question is, if you were to leave our world today, what would you want to be remembered for?
That nutty woman that I used to see in the neighborhood running, no matter what the weather, in the snow, in the sleet, in the rain, in the puddles, or like something like that, but also for being a great wife, a wonderful grandma. And changing, and I have a large community. Like I'm really blessed. Even though I'm welcoming more new patients, I am blessed for those that I've helped, because they all think of me positively. And when I send out hey, how are you doing? I'm so grateful for you. So yeah, like my community.
I love that. I hope everybody has enjoyed this as much as I have today. This is definitely a bucket list podcast for me, and I'm so happy we were able to do this. Remember, you can listen to any of the podcast on every platform that's out there, whatever your favorite platform is. I would love for you to go to my YouTube channel, Honest Health with Jeffrey Burke, and while you're there, click subscribe. Subscribe brings these up to the front and gives great exposure to my wonderful guests. But keep in touch, follow me everywhere, and while you're there, scroll down and see a list of all the amazing guests that I've been able to have on the show, and keep your ears open and follow me on social media to see who's coming next, who's upcoming, because I'm telling you what, I'm bringing you the best of the best, the cream of the crop. So I hope that you will definitely stay tuned. Lori, thank you for being here today. Absolute pleasure. Right back at you. Will you come back and see us again? Oh, I love it. I love it. Have a great day, everybody. Be well. Do something awesome just for you. God bless.
Stay tuned for more information from the Honest Health Podcast with Jeffrey Burke. And make sure to check back often for interviews and conversations from the guests we all want to hear from. I'm John the Announcer. Thanks for listening.